Ashtadarshad Shishimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtadarshad Shishimad His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Rashi Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki Vrindavan Dham ki Mayapur Dham ki Jagan Kshetra Dham ki Ganga Maya ki Yamuna Maya ki Tulsi Maharani ki Harina Sankirtan Yagya ki Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Shri Prabhupada. Bhavani ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Manas ki jai, Amrita Vasani ki jai.
Here, your legs. Up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajanarajana Yashodanandana Brajajanarajana Yashodanandana Brajajanarajana Yashodanandana Brajajanarajana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So thank you to the devotees for giving me a service to share my reflections and understanding of the Bhagavad Gita, the divine songs of God, the divine song of God rather, not songs but song, the one conversation that actually leads us to perfection. Today we'll be going through chapter 3 entitled Karma Yoga, text 19. I will recite the Sanskrit, do the translation and purport, and then we shall have a small discourse on this. So, Tasmad asakta satatam karyam karma samachara asakto hyacharam karma paramapnoti purusha. Tasmad asakta satatam karyam karma samachara asakto hyacharan karma paramapnoti purusha. Tasmad asakta satatam karyam karma samachara asakto hyacharan karma paramapnoti purusha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty. For by working without attachment, one attains the Supreme. Purport. The Supreme is the personality of Godhead for the devotees and liberation for the impersonalists. A person, therefore, acting for Krishna or in Krishna consciousness, under proper guidance and without attachment to the results of the work, is certainly making progress toward the supreme goal of life. Arjuna is told that he should fight in the battle of Kurukshetra for the interest of Krishna because Krishna wanted him to fight. To be a good man or a non-violent man is a personal attachment, but to act on behalf of the Supreme is to act without attachment for the result. 319. That is perfect action of the highest degree, recommended by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. Vedic rituals like prescribed sacrifices are performed for purification of impious activities that were performed in the field of sense gratification. But action in Krishna consciousness is transcendental to the reactions of good or evil work. A Krishna conscious person has no attachment for the result, but acts on behalf of Krishna alone. He engages in all kinds of activities, but is completely non-attached. Srila Prabhupada ki. So I'll just go through the translation one more time. Please repeat. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty. For by working without attachment, one attains the Supreme. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sahadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, I will be sharing my very, very limited understanding of this verse in the hopes that this could help us dive deeper into our devotional life, or at least for me, this verse is a wake-up call of all the things that I am doing wrong and hopefully a way that Krishna is trying to direct me towards the right path and doing things correctly. The verse says, Tasma dasakta satatam. Therefore, without attachment, what should you constantly do? Karyam karma samachara. Perform your work as a matter of duty. Asakto hyacharan karma. For by performing your work unattached, param apnoti purushaha. One can actually attain the supreme. Without being attached to the fruits of activities. I think that's the toughest thing. Or at least in my personal Krishna conscious journey, I am very much attached to the fruits of my activities. And I use the fruits of my activities to judge how well I'm doing in my devotional life. So to the extent to which I'm being glorified by the devotees, to the extent by which I'm interacting with many more people in my sanghas, to the extent to which people talk about my glories, to that extent I'm doing well in my Krishna consciousness. If there's nothing that's coming from people, then I am definitely not doing something right in my devotional life. This is how I run myself, which is not the right way to run. Yes, to some degree, based on, we understand our levels of progress based on the reactions of the devotees. The devotees are there as a guiding tool. You know, the Guru Sadhu Shastra, the sadhus are there to remind us that we're actually moving according to the scriptures and that we're moving to the right direction. And so, to some degree, we allow ourselves to be swayed according to the direction that the devotees around us think is best. So if they're kind of encouraging us in the different activities that we're doing, then we become more enthused to perform those activities with much more clarity and confidence that actually what I'm doing is pleasing the devotees, because if it's pleasing the devotees, then in one way, shape or form, it's pleasing Krishna. But then Krishna here is bringing a whole different twist. And Krishna is saying, work without attachment to the fruits of activities. Meaning then that we could perform activities and the fruits might be terrible and would still be able to gain the favor of Krishna. So judging based on how our activities are being seen externally and by the fruits that are coming out of these activities is not the best way for us to ascertain that we're actually moving towards Krishna. That's just from just reading the verse, the main thing I understood. This attachment, this I don't want to use the word sneha pasha because sneha pasha is mostly for attachment towards material things. But it's attachment based on the different activities that we're doing. These results, attachment to the fruits of the activities, becomes a determining factor as to how well we're doing in our Krishna consciousness, at least for the neophyte mind like myself. But what we're being encouraged is to scrap that out of our psyche and just perform our duty without thinking about the results, without thinking about whether it's good, whether it's bad, but actually put our heart into it and try to do it with the best of our ability. Just going through the purport, Prabhupada talks about two different kinds of things. He talks about the goal for the devotee being Krishna and the goal for the impersonalist being liberation. For the devotee whose goal is Krishna, under proper guidance and without attachment to the result, he can attain this goal. But we can also see that the impersonalistic goal, which is liberation, can already be achieved by this person who's actually having the goal of Krishna. Because actually it's interesting, Krishna in this whole chapter at the beginning starts to highlight the importance of sacrifice, the importance of doing certain activities so that your karma can lead you to a position where it can actually be used as yoga to connect you with the Supreme. But from a neophytic level or from a level which is not ready to perceive Krishna, then performing activities based on sacrifice is being recommended. And then he flips the switch and starts talking about the personalities who are actually not meant to perform any activities. They're undisturbed from any of these activities. And these people are undisturbed because they're actually situated in Krishna. They're situated in thinking about Krishna. Their focus is on Krishna. But even though they're not required to perform any activities, they will still perform activities. And Krishna was actually using this as a rebuttal for one of the points that probably was in Arjuna's mind secretly, that I still would rather go into the woods and not have to fight and renounce. But Krishna is explaining here that actual renunciation is performing the duties but becoming detached. So we can see for the person who's striving for Krishna, the goal of the impersonalist is already achieved. They become liberated because by being liberated, they're unaffected by the results or the activities that they're performing. The devotee, he's working to please Krishna. So all his activities are geared towards Krishna. So for them, they're also unaffected because they'll do the activities regardless of whether it breeds the positive results that they'll be looking for or does not. They're doing it to please Krishna. And so it was so nice when today in our class, we had a class and Star Prabhu was reading this quote that he saw from Janananda Maharaj, which was basically saying, we'll just perform our activities, even if no one is listening, even if no one responds or reciprocates with us, I'm paraphrasing, we shall perform our activities fully. And then, so that Krishna can know that we can get the certificate from Krishna and not from others, like that. So we can see also from Prabhupada's purport from the beginning that literally the mood of the impersonalist is already much inferior to the devotee. The person who's acting as a devotee already achieves the goal of the impersonalist. He becomes liberated from the material contaminations. Krishna talks about the sthitadhir. He uses different other terms. I think I had written them here. Atmarati, Atmatriptas. And these personalities, I think that's in text 17, he mentions, for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. So that can even be an interesting thing. He's telling Arjuna to perform his duty and fight, but then he's talking about the Atmarati, or Atmatriptas, the self-illuminated. He has no duty, But Krishna is basically saying, so Krishna says he has no duty, but then he tells Arjuna that you have to perform your duty and fight, but fight detached from the results. So how can we understand this? It might seem seemingly contradictory, but actually it's highlighting the same thing, that for the devotee who's working because of their unattachment to the circumstances, because they're fully situated on Krishna, they're fully fixed in Krishna consciousness, they're fully satisfied in the self only because they understand that them as Jiva Atma, their goal is to connect with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's no other duties to perform. All these other activities will be done not for themselves. So they do not assess it based on the fruitive activities that will be gained or not, but they do it as a matter of duty for the pleasure of the Lord. And so he puts them on an equal level, encouraging us to do the same. The second thing I'd gotten from that, so the first point was on for the devotees, it's Krishna. For the impersonalists, it's liberation. The second thing was, it's about Krishna, not about you. Okay, or in this case, it's about Krishna, not about me. Arjuna's fighting is for Krishna's interest, not for his own interest. So seemingly, Arjuna might not want to fight, but then he ends up fighting because that's what pleases Krishna. So I was trying to understand this also from my spiritual life, or for my life trying to be spiritual, that some of the activities that I'm supposed to do, I personally do not want them. I personally do not like them. I personally have no interest in them. But because I'm willing to withdraw my personal understanding and make it about Krishna, then I can actually achieve something great. So at times what we do may not be pro-us, but if it's pro-Krishna, then we should do it. You know, I think about it like before I became a devotee, waking up in the morning for me was the last, I would sleep in the morning. And still up to this day, I still, the alarm goes off and 90% of me just says, you know what, you just close your eyes and don't think about it too much. But then because also, this is what pleases Krishna, when we come up in the morning and recite these mantras for his pleasure, then I have to do it. Up until I reach the stage or the level where I'm actually doing it spontaneously, I can't wait to get up. God knows, Krishna knows when that day will be. But it stops becoming about me. I mentioned some devotees were discussing that at times we live our life like we're the main character of this movie. And everyone is influencing us in in this movie that we are the main character. But then we become a devotee and we understand that in your movie, you're not the main character. You're a supporting character. And Krishna is the main character in your movie. So I guess this is also preaching to myself, asking us to make Krishna the center and to perform activities which are pro-Krishna without necessarily thinking about what's pro-me. Because at the end of the day, what's pro-Krishna will be pro-me. Because if Krishna is pleased, then I'll automatically be pleased in one way, shape, or form. But if we look at it from the other way around, that we're performing activities that are pro-me without thinking about Krishna, yet the activities that are for the devotee, that are actually purifying, are not so sweet at the beginning, but give the nectar at the end, then we'll avoid all those activities because we're thinking about our position, our gratification, what's more comfortable for me. And so it becomes difficult for us to actually attain Krishna. And that begs the question, then is Krishna our goal? Because if he's our goal, then we're going to do everything that's pro-Krishna and avoid everything that's not. The things that are favorable, it's part of the 6, mentalities that the devotee has. What's favorable, I go with it. What's unfavorable, I discard it. And so the preset for this personality is whatever is pro-Krishna, I'm doing. Whatever is not pro-Krishna, I am avoiding. And so probably based on our adhikar and where we're at in our spiritual life, that's something to also see. To what extent am I performing activities that are just for my pleasure, and to what extent am I performing them for Krishna? And okay, this is my position. How can I gradually get myself to the stage where everything becomes pro-Krishna? And that's the power of sadhana bhakti. It opens us up to having this understanding. Hopefully one day, someone like myself can have that understanding. That it's actually not about me, it's about Krishna. That also brings up another point, personal attachments versus attachments for Krishna, so which I've already just touched on. The latter is a perfection, attachment for Krishna. And personal attachments become met when we actually focus on Krishna. So that should be our primary basis, meditating on the Lord. And then from there, not really thinking too much or assessing our own positions and letting that be determined by Krishna. And the nice example is when the gopis were asked, to get the dust from their feet to cure Krishna's headache. They didn't consider at once their position, their attachments, their situation. They didn't consider that, okay, by me doing this, that could lead me into the hellish worlds. When they were asked by Narad Muni, this could lead you into the hellish worlds, no? And they were like, I don't care. In the hellish worlds, we can still think about Krishna. We always have his association. The Brahmins, however, were like, no, I'm not taking the risk. I'd probably have done the same thing. I'm not taking the risk. Krishna can get a painkiller. But I'm not going to use the dust from my feet because that's going to lead me to a hellish circumstance. And that's their downfall, that they were meditating on their position, on what's comfortable for them. And so we have to kind of run away from that. And also, surrender unto me also highlights the same thing. The true renunciation is working without attachment. If we're fully detached, then we can actually, connect to Krishna. And Krishna actually is more susceptible to helping us. We see with like the pastime of Draupadi. When Draupadi was holding on to her robes, she wasn't getting much reciprocation from the Lord. But as soon as she put her hands up and, Hey Govinda, Hey Gopal, then that's when Krishna decided to help. See the same thing with Gajendra, when he gave up fighting by his own whims and decided to offer the lotus flower to Krishna, then Krishna came and did that. It's a little bit of a tough situation because that means we have to put our hands up and say, I can't do anything. And that's a difficult position for a person to be in, especially with the mentality of in the age of Kali, where we want to be in control of situations. We want to feel that we know what's right. We know what I need to do. I know this. I know that. I'm so certain. This is what I need to do for my spiritual development. This is what I need to do to be self-situated. But Krishna is basically saying, put your hands up and leave that to me. Let me decide this. So that also just, is obviously a challenging thing to do because we only know ourselves so much and Krishna knows us beyond this life. So we need to just trust that he can figure it all out for ourselves. And that's why coming to a space like the manor, associating with the devotees, chanting Krishna's names helps us to get this clarity. What else did I have based on this? So Arjuna was trying to look for intellectual ways to dodge his circumstance. He was trying to see, okay, how can I run away from fighting? Because I actually don't want to fight. These are my relatives, people I care about, people I value. How can I, run away from this? But then Krishna is saying, actually, you need to perform your duty. You need to actually fight. And the 3Ds come up. I don't know if you know of the 3Ds. You perform your duty with detachment and devotion. And so then you can be self-situated. So Arjuna is he's going to have to fight. He's going to have to perform his duty. And he's going to have to do it detached about the results, detached that he's having to kill his relatives, detached that, it's going to cause some emotional setbacks for them, and do it with devotion to Krishna, trusting in Krishna that Krishna will secure everything and Krishna will take care of him. Avasya Rakshibe Krishna. And so actually based on that point of duty, I found this wonderful pastime which I found quite interesting. And I thought I would just share this and I'll finish up with that before any questions come. We've been given such wonderful propensities by Krishna, and we should try our level best to utilize them for his service. So the pastime goes like this. There's a rich man, very, very wealthy man. He has loads of money, has a house like the manor, very, very successful. And he has 4 sons. His 4 sons get 4 wives, and so they're all married off. And so he's in his latter stages of his life. He's 65. He's thinking, okay, soon, my body will tell me, okay, it's time for you to leave. I can't accommodate you anymore. So I'll need some people to extend this dynasty of mine. He had a huge dynasty, a lot of things. Not a dynasty like the early days, but he had a lot of wealth and a lot of piety. So he was thinking of who to leave that with responsibly to kind of take care of it and sustain it. So obviously his sons are, they're working, they're maintaining their own life. So he calls his daughters-in-laws, the 4 of them, because there are 4 sons. And then he's wondering, okay, who am I going to leave this homage to? And so he has a challenge, and he gives them all 4 5 grains of wheat, and tells them, I give you these 5 grains of wheat, and after 5 years, I'll ask you for them. So the fourth daughter-in-law. Okay, so they've all gotten their grains, they leave. The 4th daughter-in-law looks at these grains and sees, okay, this man's old. He's in his 65. We have a whole building, dedicated to just storing wheat. So why is he asking me to just keep 5 grains? She threw them. She thought, okay, whatever. The 3rd daughter-in-law, so okay, I have these grains. He's not going to really ask me about these grains in 5 years, is he? I'm sure he's going to forget because, old age. So she ate the grains. Ate them, consumed them, forgot about them. The second daughter-in-law thought a little bit deeper, and she was like, okay, this man is an intelligent man. For all he's immersed, I don't think he's quite dumb. So he probably has something significant about this. Let me store these grains. So she went and got a silk cloth and then wrapped the grains in a silk cloth and put them in the pujari room. She knew that no one's going to come there and touch or dismantle anything. Kept them there, and then she knew, okay, after 5 years, I'll just dash, go get them, boom, give them to him, and case closed. And then the first daughter-in-law, she saw, actually, this man is very intelligent, and there must be some deeper meaning towards this. So I actually probably should be more intelligent. So she took those 5 grains, went to the yard, planted these 5 grains, reaped the harvest, kept on planting, and then amassed so much from these 5 grains. So in 5 years' time, she, the owner of this dynasty calls his granddaughters and says, okay, fine, it's been 5 years. I remember telling you guys, after 5 years, I want you to give me back the 5 grains. So the fourth one is like, okay, the fourth one and the third one, they panic. So they dash and they go to the grain house, and then they get 5 grains each. And then they go and they bring them to him, and they're like, okay, here are the grains. And then she said, the father-in-law says, okay, these are not the grains I gave you. What did you do with the grains? And so they had to admit, they were shaking, they were panicking. So the fourth one said, oh, I threw them away. I thought you were just messing about. It was just like a random thing. I didn't think of it so significantly. The third one said, oh yeah, I also thought similar, but I ate the grains. And he was like, oh man, oh man. And then the second one says, okay, 1 second, dashes to the pujari room and gets a silk cloth that had the grains, and then offers the grains back and says, okay, here are the grains. And says, oh, okay, so you kept them, you didn't throw them away, but you kept the same grains. And then the first one said, okay, I can't give you the 5 grains that you gave me, but actually I'll ask for you to give me 5 trucks, so I can get you all that I've amassed from those 5 grains. Because from those 5 grains, I got 5 trucks worth of grains. And so he looked at them and he said, okay, fine, good. Now I know. Because his question was, who am I going to leave my dynasty to? So he said, okay, so for the fourth one, who threw all the grains, her job will be to do the chores of the house, cooking, mopping, cleaning the place, making sure the place is tidy, arranging the house, making sure everything is perfect. The third one, who ate the grains, he said, okay, those people who are good at eating are probably also good at cooking, so you can be the cook and cook everything, make sure everyone is fed sumptuously. Then for the second one, who put them in the silk cloth, said, okay, you didn't throw them away, you managed them properly. So you'll be managing the accounts of this whole dynasty. Make sure that we're not losing any money. Everything is accounted for. Everything is in control like that. And then the first one, he said, okay, I will give you the keys to the entire household. You basically control everything. Because you got the harvest, you replanted, and you multiplied it. So from this we can, it's probably a mundane story, but it kind of can make us understand that if we perform our duty to the best of our ability, with much clarity and with much conviction, not thinking about our own perspectives, but thinking on how best we can please and serve the Lord, then we can actually reap the best out of it. Just like these ladies were given 5 grains, we've also been given not just 5, but tons and tons of resources for our spiritual development. We have Shastra, we have the pure devotees, we have scriptures. Prabhupada established tirthas all over the world so that we can be able to connect with him like that. So we have resources. The first lady threw them away thinking that they're insignificant. So you could have all these resources, but you choose to do nothing with them. You consider them to not be of much significance, or that they're not going to be helpful for your spiritual development. And so just like the lady threw her grains away, you can also choose to, discard these teachings. The third one, ate the grains. So to some degree, you can choose to imbibe some of these things, use them for your own personal preaching benefit, but not also thinking about the goal clearly. And so you would also miss the point, because it's not really just about your own benefits and just about what you're getting. And so just like the third one, ate the grains, you could just take in from this philosophy, but take it in for yourself and then use that for your own life. The second one, who, managed to keep it. So you can take this knowledge, you can take all these resources and manage them, have a prolific understanding of the philosophy, have a strong understanding of how to preach, all these things, and not necessarily utilizing them, all these opportunities to kind of spread the mission, all these skills that Krishna has given us innately, internally, and also externally. You could have them and choose to not do anything. Someone like myself who kind of believes, am I really worth, and I was speaking to other devotees as well, and they speak on the same, understanding it from the same perspective, that who am I to be the one to actually utilize these things? So we're told, you can keep them and manage them and have them and maintain them for the rest of your life. I can play the mridanga, I can do kirtans, I can give a class, I can do all these things, but actually not utilizing it for the greater good. Or you can be like the first lady who sowed the seeds and took all these resources that she had, utilized them to actually expand and build and be of greater service. And so similarly, we should try our best to do the same. How can I, with all these resources that I've been given, expand Prabhupada's mission, expand Mahaprabhu's mission, and make it grow, make it better, make other people benefit from it also, make other people try to grow from it. What input can I give, and how can I help spread this mission? And with the many attributes and skills that Krishna has blessed me with, how can I utilize that? And if we're focused on doing this, then also we stop looking at our disqualification and realize that we're actually, even though we're disqualified, spiritual humility comes about, that I don't have the qualification, but I'll try my level best to spread, to preach and share, and help other people realize Krishna, or in one way or another get themselves closer to Krishna. So the choice is ours. We have the resources. We just have to choose what to do with it in a detached way, as a matter of our duty, and with some devotion, or as much devotion as we can gather, the 3 Ds of our perfection. So I thought that was something small to share. I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice points. 3Ds, I never heard about them. It's nice to have them in mind also. And nice moral of the story. I had a question concerning the fruits of action. Because we hear in the Bible, I was looking for the English translation, that you shall recognize them by their fruit, right? So how should we be able to judge really, like, whom to follow, who to trust, if we cannot look at the fruits? Like, if we, you know what I mean? If we have to be detached of the fruits. So what becomes a standard of judgment for ourselves in our spiritual life and also in others? I think you spoke a little bit about it, but maybe concretely to this statement.
So how to judge who? So if we're not looking at the fruits, how then do we judge who's the right person to follow?
Maybe also in connection to, there's so many like Mayavadis, for example, who are doing quite well externally. They have huge temples and a lot of followers and stuff. So by their fruits, it looks like they're really successful.
Exactly.
We know that it's not actually beneficial.
Yeah, and that's it. Because you see, and the basic point that was coming from that is just by fruits alone, we can't judge that something is great. We can't judge that it's actually good. Because the Mayavadis, the materialists, externally, they everything is a tick. They're having all the attraction, all the externally favorable things to prove that actually what they're doing is pro what I should be doing. But then when we peer into the depth, we realize actually that it's of no significance, of no depth, of no value. So I think it's not necessarily by the fruits, but by the qualities by which this person lives by. So when you observe these personalities, then we see that they're actually living by the scriptures. They're renounced. They don't care about these things. They're focused on self-realization, and their goal is distinct. Their goal is to please and serve Krishna. Then immediately I will scrap out anyone whose goal is impersonal liberation automatically. I will scrap out anyone whose goal is money and good material life and success and living the party life. will filter based on what their aspirations are. And so that's why when we hear from them, we can understand based on, I'm sure some people hear from me speaking, they understand, okay, this person's adhikar is pretty low, so I can't really surrender to this person. And it's a similar thing when we hear this, like when you hear Prabhupada speak, his authority, his clarity, his fixed stance on the scriptures and the verdict of the Shastra is really what gives many of us faith that actually we should follow this process. I personally say I don't have much connection with the deities. I look at the deities and my vision is not really as clear as for many people. I see people observing the deities and they're like, many prayers and have some deep connection. I don't have that. But because I see what Prabhupada has done, and I hear from Prabhupada, I have faith in the deities. Because he sets that example for me. And so most of the time, even when we're taking darshan, I look at the lordships, but I also look at Prabhupada taking darshan. Because for me, that's really where my faith lies. I was having a discussion with one devotee and I was like, I don't have much faith, But in Krishna, because I'm still waiting for that validity externally. It says in Guru Sadhu Shastra, I'm still waiting to experience how Guru Sadhu Shastra and Krishna are non-different. But through Prabhupada, I have faith because he set an example and he lived that life. And because I was able to witness it, then from him I can perceive who Krishna is. So I guess it's in the mentality of the people that we're choosing to hear from and be with and associate with. And from them we can see, okay, this is probably the best path for me to take. This is probably how I should live my life. But we can't, and also to some extent, the extent to which they're able to do things externally also, So for example, we talk about the great personalities and they were able to give out this knowledge to others. So the person I'm taking shelter of must be able to clearly explain the philosophy to me, must be able to uncover my doubts, clear them, and point me towards the direction of being Krishna conscious. They should be able to do that for others. And so, when we look at the Swamis in our movement or the people we're aspiring for spiritual guidance, to some degree, if they had a way of being able to convince me, then I can have faith in them because they were able to turn my atheistic mentality or my psychological atheism into some form of spiritual personalism. And so from that, then we can judge this is the right person to focus on, And they're leading me to conclusions that are not just their own, but are also in the scriptures. They're quoting from the scriptures. They're giving me shastric evidence, even though I don't know much of it. But just because they'll, give a few relevant shlokas that I can look back on and see actually it drives to the same point, then I can develop faith in them like that. And so, Prabhupada said we have to be independently thoughtful. So we should also, not just put our hands up fully like that, but question. Arjuna has the same mood. He questions, even though he takes shelter, he questions, and he gets the clarity, and that's how he's able to fight. So in the same way, like that. I don't know if you'd have anything else to add based on that.
Yeah, I was just thinking this point of actually what are the fruits is the question, right? So you speak about we should rather judge by the qualities that they have.
Yeah.
So these are kind of the fruits that we can also see and judge by. So maybe it's not like fruits, in external things.
Yeah, it's not fruits of external activities, because this one's talking about fruits of activities. I do X and I get this result. This is just the fruit of them living their life in devotion. I think that would be a nice way to put it.
Exactly. I mean, you can pin it down to the 3 Ds again. You can see how do they do their duty.
With detachment and in devotion. Yeah. And it's a nice way to kind of look at it also, isn't it? Yeah. Am I doing my duty? Am I detached? And am I devoted like that? And if so, then, and is this person doing the same thing? Then if so, then I can take shelter of them. And do I have faith in how fixed they are in their duty, in their detachment, and in their devotion? And that makes it easier. So that's our quest, to have the vision, to understand things from that perspective. Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Janitai Gaura Premanande.
Vivo, Bhaktavedanta Prabhu ki Jai.